in the airline industry could impact your travel plans. Spirit Airlines is shutting down, and that's raising a lot of questions for travelers already booking trips or still trying to find affordable fares. And we're breaking it all down with Sean Cudahy, a senior aviation reporter with The Points Guy. Sean, good to see you. Let's start with the obvious question here. What actually led Spirit Airlines to the point of shutting down, and how did we get here?
Yeah, it was really kind of a confluence of factors with Spirit, a bunch of different things that kind of piled up over the last few years. Since the pandemic, we've really seen budget airlines struggle to kind of win over travelers. A lot of customers have kind of flocked to the big airlines like Delta and United, which have done much better financially. But Spirit's problems ran even deeper. They've had, in recent years, a large portion of their fleet got temporarily grounded because of some major maintenance issues. They had debt. And I think you add the huge run up in fuel prices that just created basically an untenable situation for the airline, something that all airlines are dealing with. But Spirit was already in such a financial hole, 2 Chapter 11 bankruptcies in the last 2 years. And that kind of got us to where we are today.
Right. We've seen some impacts already from this. When one major carrier disappears, what typically happens to the rest of the market? JetBlue mentioned that they would be picking up some of Spirit's routes or flights.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of airlines adding new routes from Breeze Airways to Frontier, JetBlue. We're going to see probably a big shakeup of airlines trying to get a hold of these gates that Spirit occupied and really kind of try to kind of grab the upper hand in some of these markets where Spirit, was prominent. Fort Lauderdale, where JetBlue's adding a bunch of flights, definitely being the big example. I think the big concern across the industry when it comes to flight prices right now is if fares are to go up. Spirit, as one of the budget airlines, whether you liked, flying on Spirit or not, it was an airline that, for all its fees and all that kind of stuff, it offered these low fares that forced the bigger airlines to kind of keep their fares in check to kind of compete in that sense. So I think the concern at this point is that we would see higher fares across the industry, especially in certain markets where Spirit was prominent.
Well, just to piggyback off that thought here, I mean, you mentioned it. Spirit has a big, presence in budget travel. That's what they were known for, a big selling point, of course. Could that business strategy work for other airlines at some point?
We certainly see other airlines that have that business model, from Frontier Airlines kind of most prominently to Allegiant Air would be the other big example. JetBlue, kind of a hybrid low cost carrier. You could sort of put Southwest in that category as well, although Southwest is much bigger. I think though that we are a lot of the bigger airlines have really had the success because in the last several years we've seen travelers kind of flock to the loyalty programs and the first class seats and the long haul international destinations. Does this create more of a void for some airlines to try, some of Spirit's discounting tactics? I think that remains to be seen. The challenge ahead of airlines right now, and passengers are going to feel this, is that airlines are facing such steep jet fuel costs right now, and that's translating into higher fares all kind of across the industry.
So is there any hope? I mean, where could people look for those budget-friendly flights? I know Frontier typically offers lower prices as well, but could you kind of dig a little deeper into that?
Yeah, Frontier would be the place to look. Also, keep in mind, if you're someone who liked Spirit, who was willing to take that super low, base fare and just be willing to pay for kind of everything else on the ticket, all of the big airlines, today that are flying from American to Delta, United, Southwest, you name it, they do offer, basic economy tickets that are kind of the same no frills type situation as Spirit did. And by the way, that was part of the problem that Spirit faced also, is that the competition just got stiffer on that front. I think the best thing that you could do as a consumer right now is to use tools like Google Flights, be flexible, comparison shop, and just, kind of try to go where the price is lowest. If you're kind of zeroed in on a destination and a travel day in an airline and an airport in the DMV, that's when you can end up paying the highest fares. But, if you can kind of be that flexible consumer that's willing to sort of price shop, price comparison, I think that's your best bet at this point.
Okay, I guess we got to just do a little more research and digging around. It's going to take us a little longer to book that flight. Sean Cudahy, a senior aviation with Points Guy, thank you so much. Always great to chat with you. Great insight.